Good morning. So when I was 5 until 8, I lived in Scotland. And even though we're from a Jewish family, I was put into a Protestant private school because that was the best school in the area. And every morning we had to listen for probably half an hour, seemed like 5 hours, to this elderly, very, very nasty woman, Mrs. Baker, preach very heavy Christianity, and every day we sang the greatest hits like Onward Christian Soldiers Marching on to War, like that. And we were studying the Bible, and there were some stories in the Bible, David and Goliath. I started like becoming attracted to these stories. And one day I came home and I said to my mother, I started preaching to my mother about Jesus Christ. And she said to me, "Sweetheart, we don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God." And I remember looking and thinking, oh my gosh, Mrs. Baker has said that if anybody speaks like that, they will immediately turn into flames and they will die immediately and they will go to hell. And I waited very, very fearfully. I remember looking at my mother thinking some bolts of light were going to emit from her head, and that she was going to explode into a ball of flames. And I'm waiting and waiting and hoping it didn't happen, but thinking Mrs. Baker was telling the truth. But nothing happened. I looked and looked, nothing happened. And I thought, that means Mrs. Baker either was lying or she really didn't know what she was talking about. And then I remember coming back to America, and I went into Hebrew school and studied different teachings. And I remember hearing that, it'll be very similar, but it will be similar teachings, but without so much emphasis on Jesus. And I remember thinking at the young age of 8 years old, thinking, come on, Gino. There it is. Come on, Gino, let's go. Thinking, these people say one thing, and these people say something else. Both adults, I just really was getting this understanding very succinctly, very clearly, that these adults either are not telling the truth or they don't really know what they're talking about. Because how can this group say one thing with full conviction and this group say something else with full conviction? Want to go in? Okay. So that was a realization I had very early. And later in life, I realized it wasn't that there's no truth, beautiful truths in these traditions. It doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. It just means that there's imperfect humans expressing these teachings. And so that continued my search for meaning and spiritual teachings and yoga and realization, bhakti, devotion, but from a very different perspective. And so that was a real teaching for me to realize that, one, adults don't really know everything they're talking about, but also people so often are speaking not from a place of realization, but simply from a place of dogma. And that this is something that they believe very deep in their heart, or very deeply, but they really have no realization of. And then it's up to us to refine ourselves and to go deeper and deeper. And rather than becoming, as one of my teachers called it, an exoteric practitioner, meaning external, but esoteric, meaning internal. And rather than being static in life, becoming ecstatic in life, meaning refining and going deeper and finding out the true nature of who we are, which even according to Ayurveda, until we go deeper and tap into our inner consciousness and into our internal energy, into our very soul or Atma, which is made up of Sat Chit Ananda, of pure existence, awareness, and love. Unless we begin to contact that, we really can't have authentic realization. So that was just something that I was listening to a friend today speak, and it reminded me of that time. Have a great day.